Here we have some equations with radicals, and we're going to try to solve these for x. When the x is beneath a radical sign, you're going to have to undo that by doing the opposite. So if this is a third root here, you're going to have to undo that by raising this to the third power. That'll undo the third root. Of course, you have to do that same thing to the other side. So this is going to be 6 to the third power over here. When that happens, on the left, we just get x minus 6. The third root is undone. And let's see, 6 to the third power is 216. And then we simply add 6, and we get x equals 222. Let's take a look at this one. We've got radical signs on both sides. These are square roots, so we're going to undo them by squaring both sides. And that simply becomes 4x plus 4 equals 3x plus 5. You can subtract 3x. We get x plus 4 equals 5. Subtract 4. We get x equals 1. When you solve problems with radicals, it's always a good idea to go back and check once you've gotten an answer. Up here, 222 minus 6 would be 216. Take the third root of that, and you're going to get 6. So that works. Here, we've got 1. If we plug in 1 for x, we would get 4 plus 4. That's the square root of 8 over here. And over here, 3 times 1 is 3 plus 5. That's also the square root of 8. And the square root of 8 equals the square root of 8. So that checks out. Let's try one more. Now here we have on the left side of the equation something under a radical sign and something not. Before we square both sides, we definitely need to get this away from the radical. We need to get it over on the other side. So we'll subtract 5 here, and we would have x plus 5 equals a negative 8. Now at this point, we could go forward squaring both sides, but you should probably stop and ask yourself, is there anything that you could take the square root of and come out with a negative 8? The answer should be no, because you'd maybe think to put a negative number under a square root symbol in order to end up with a negative number afterwards, and you've learned you can't take the square root of a negative number, not and get a real number anyway as a result. But let me show you what happens if we just go forward with this. If we didn't pay attention to this negative sign over here, if we just squared both sides, we would get x plus 5 over here and 64 over here, and then we'd subtract 5, and we would get 59. X is 59, which looks like a reasonable solution. But let's plug it back in here. So 59 plus 5 would be 64. The square root of 64 would be 8. So you'd have 8 plus 5 equals a negative 3, and that clearly does not work. So there is no solution for this particular problem. So that's a little bit of work with solving equations with radical signs.